Or you can plug it in here if you want to.
Yeah, must be better. But if you want to make it adapter.
Oh yeah, it is an adapter. I can play it for you if you send me the link.
Okay.
If it's a public, you want me to send my email?
Yeah, can we? I think same time. What's
Send me the Gmail. Do you have it online?
I put on the.
Maybe we should make it the same time.
DemocracyOS.
That's my father. He will wander around for a little bit until my sister comes and she's going to take care of it.
What email should I send this? What email?
I'm waiting for my computer to turn on.
You guys connected? You okay?
I got on.
I'm connected to the router, but I don't have internet.
Oh, you have to. There's a portal that's gonna pop up.
Okay. I guess that's taking a while.
Or just log on to the other one if you want to skip the portal. The Sensorica. Not the guest, the other one.
I don't know. I think there's a portal. It's kind of Jim, do you know the password?
Yeah.
Can you?
Sensorica guest.
Sensorica guest?
Yes.
Okay. All in one word?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so somebody's taking notes here that we'll share with you all. So we can edit the document.
Can everyone read this? Okay. That's
Yeah, I can pretty clear. Yeah.
That's all right.
It's going to be tough for you to type. And
Yeah,
So you sent me your presentation.
So it's you remove the hyphen. It's all one word.
Oh, you can get first.
That is Sensorica guest.
Can you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's Sensorica guest. Yeah. Just so check how you spell it.
Yeah.
there's a link on
And share.
I can export it. I hope it's okay.
Oh, is this a PowerPoint?
Yeah, export to PowerPoint.
I'm going to open it in Google Drive.
How many of you are doing mining? What about coding? Coding apps for contracts?
I'd like to.
Start. Okay.
I just want to acknowledge that there's somebody from Vancouver here. There's somebody from Vancouver already on the Hangout, just to acknowledge the person.
Hi, Vancouver. Hello.
Hey. Her name is Tammy.
Hey, Tammy.
She's into peer-to-peer
Say hi to
communication.
DDP. DDP.
What about trading? Anyone doing trading?
Oh yeah, DDP. I work at a credit union and we just did an article on the DDP.
Oh yeah, that's rad.
Sometimes.
I'll be coming to visit you guys soon.
Wicked, you're always welcome to stay at the Artery. I live at a community home and my door is always open to people that are doing amazing, cool things.
Rad.
I'll throw my email in the chat window, so if anyone wants to connect afterwards, there it is. I'm actually working a call center right now, so I'm veiling myself so you don't have to be interrupted by the other work I'm doing. But thank you so much for gathering, and I'm looking forward to checking out what everyone has to talk about today. And that's me. I'm out.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I'm going to share the presentation, right?
Make the media.
Immediately. Decentralized dance party. Yeah. Tom and Gary's decentralized dance party. That's
So you asked if anybody's been doing trading? You mean like you're
Checking
trading cryptocurrencies or?
Like
It's
just
just a
algorithmic trading.
No, no,
Just,
no, no, no,
to
no,
a euro.
no.
But that's usually the three areas
Yeah.
is trading, mining, and programming. And Bitcoin is usually just trading and mining
Yeah.
because the programming is very convoluted to do.
Yeah.
And Ethereum makes it easier, the programming part.
So here's a presentation. First slide. You tell me when to. You tell me next.
Want to make it bigger?
Yeah, can you make it bigger?
Yeah, sure.
On the screen.
I'll make it bigger for now. We are going to go through the document and.
Okay. Just want to. Is it better full screen or something?
No,
Present to everyone.
This is how we're going to see it. Right? And how can I? Oops. That thing is going to stay there.
You want me? Let's do it crystal clear.
But also, there's this link I sent you. Is it possible you want that link?
Why?
It's called Little Moon.
I can probably share. Yeah, I would have to reduce this if you want everybody to see that link. You want
Yeah, I would like the link first. And, well, I can put it here.
Okay.
I think it's
Yeah,
not, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
It's just going to come.
Okay, so
share the link on the docs.
Or the chat. It's okay, whatever.
well, okay, I'll start it later because it's not too important for the first. So first of all, just a quick introduction to Ethereum, or at least the way the contracts interact with each other, because I get that asked a lot. And then I'll go into Embark, which is a framework I developed to develop dApps for Ethereum. It makes it really easy to develop applications. So if you're aware of Bitcoin, when you...
I just want to know if I recognize what you have. I just want to know, are the codes similar to Ethereum?
If they are similar.
Yeah, like is it the same syntax, OP, whatever?
Probably not exactly.
No, that's the.
Because this is the simplest thing.
Yes.
Also, it's in decimal. So I'll get to this in a second. So Bitcoin, when you do a transaction, there's a field that you specify a script. It's like a very simple script that, and in that script you can the result of running that script tells the miner whatever the next transaction is valid or invalid. So, for example, when you do say a multi-sign transaction, you put say funds in one address, and now for those funds to be moved, it say you need 2 signatures. So the way that works is that there's a very simple script that takes 2 signatures, checks if those signatures are valid, and if so, then that transaction is valid, and the funds can be moved. So in practice, this is each miner, when they take a transaction and they validate that transaction, they run a very simple virtual machine. And so a virtual machine is something like this. You have the script, which is a bunch of opcodes. This is what opcodes are. They have a certain parameters, and so it specifies what instruction to do and in what parameter. So for example, here jump, it means it jumps to XX. So right here in this program, when it first executes, it sees, okay, VR3, okay, I'm gonna jump to line 3, and it executes that. So it's with Bitcoin, it's a very simple script. It does the job well. The problem though is that certain opcodes are not supported. Namely, a jump is not supported. Well, there's some if-else, but you cannot do loops with it, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the main limitation. You cannot do loops with it. Plus, the transaction, they have a certain size, they have a limit on their size. And it has even been reduced, actually, in what it used to be possible to do. So with Ethereum, what Ethereum does is that it's built from the ground up to support the other opcodes and other type of opcodes. So it's Turing complete. You can do the jumps, you can do loops, you can do assignments, you can do all sorts of things. There's no limit on what you can do. So when you execute the contract, what you're actually doing is that you're compiling a bunch of this bytecode, and you can actually do it. You can actually do this if you go, say, if you go to Sol-C, which is one of the compilers, and I compile a contract, and I want to see what's the assembly code looks like, and it will generate that assembly code that's actually. Of course, in the actual transaction, this is binary. But this is the human representation of it.
That's the low-level code that the virtual machine executes.
What was the what was the command again?
So I did the Sol-C and then asm st out.
What's the name of that compiler? The full name?
It's Solidity.
Solidity. Okay.
Solidity. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think in Bitcoin when they designed it, they would have had those limitations?
Yeah. So let me take the reason is there's no incentive to run those bytecodes. There's no. So if someone would put, say, infinite loop, it would just hang the miner's machine, because it would just keep. Or if it's a very heavy operation, and then there's no extra transaction fee, so there's also no reason for the miner to do it. And they actually go to great lengths to avoid it, because then they can get the sort of infinite loops. So that's why actually for some time even like a lot of people said, oh, Ethereum is impossible and so on, because Bitcoin was actually trying to avoid this to be Turing complete, because they had no incentives or protections to deal with this. But Ethereum was built from the ground up to be able to do it. So this is a little man computer, so it's a very simple virtual machine. They actually might ask you to do this in Java interviews, just accept. And if you go for a programming interview, that's something some companies ask you to do. And you can see that there's here a bunch of the bytecode. Each bytecode goes into a certain slot of memory. And so when it says, see, the 603 means a BR, which means a jump, and jump 3, it means it's going to jump to line 3. So when you execute this, you can see it running, and you can see there's a loop going on. So in Bitcoin, this would just go from 0 to 14 and finish. There'll be no jumps. But Ethereum, this kind of thing is possible. The way that the infinite loops are avoided is that each step you have to pay for the step. So if you run out of money, then you just stop, and the miner still gets the money for running that transaction, and so there's no problem.
So if a smart contract runs out of gas in the middle during its execution, the miner gets the money, right?
He still gets the money, yeah.
The miner gets the money, but the whole contract is annulled, right?
Well, on the deployment, I think the deployment would still get deployed because the miner would still get the money.
It got deployed, but there's no transactions that take place, right?
Well, it would still take place. It just that would be invalid. It would not be.
Okay.
Because the transaction still needs to be recorded to show that the miner runs and still got the ether. Ether for. So the main purpose of Ether in the Ethereum network is to pay for gas, and gas is the cost of each opcode. So each of these opcodes they would have different prices. So an add is very cheap because the computer can add numbers very quickly, but multiplication would be expensive. And Ethereum actually even has other type of opcodes that you will not find it traditionally, at least in a known protocol. Like it has a SHA-3, and it has a recovery public key. Those are really expensive, so the gas costs are much higher. And you can also with Solidity, you can also specify gas, and it will tell you for the contract each method how much they would cost. So here, this particular contract called token, to deploy it would cost me 120,000 of gas, and then to call each of the methods would cost me 300 gas, 42,000 gas. If I suddenly had a really heavy operation here, the gas cost increased.
The units that there is clear,
There are way, yes.
Okay.
What is the way? Million or million or?
The way is the lowest.
Small.
Million.
Ether, I don't know. Ether.
Set up here.
There was a site to check.
Yeah, I know. I used to hack.
I'm pretty sure it's a billionth of an ether.
It's a billionth of an ether,
Yeah.
yeah, from what I think. Here, energy.
Hopefully one day it would be worth $1 and it would be
Oh my god, it's way more
That's
than
expensive. That'd be expensive smart contract.
Zabo, no, it's a way is a billionth.
What is that?
No, it's way past that.
Yeah, it's a really big number.
It's a really big number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one question I got in last meetup was what happens if the price of Ether goes up, and in that case the market should adjust. So the miners I think that was actually fixed in the software, but in theory the way it should be is that the miners there's a certain price they are willing to run the transactions.
Yeah.
There's a price people are willing to pay for those transactions. So if the price of Ether goes suddenly 1,000 times up, then in theory the price of the transaction will just go down, and vice versa.
Because isn't it in the code and as well the miners, like we can set what we're willing to accept.
I think you can set it, I think you can set it in the console.
I mean, you can be reasonable about it, but there's market forces and there's also just code forces.
So you say it's in the actual Ether, like, so it's already set the price?
There's a default that it's set, yeah.
But people can modify it.
I believe so, yeah. I think they added something to.
Just a question there. What about the outside market, the trading of Ether?
Yeah.
How does that affect the internal?
In theory, it shouldn't affect.
Okay.
It shouldn't affect.
Does that mean you can buy it all at a fixed price so far?
No,
No,
it's traded. No, it's not. It's like a commodity that's being traded.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Yeah.
why? Okay, it's the cost of mining that.
Usually that's what drives it, but I mean, it's supply and demand. That's
The cost of mining is different because the difficulty shifts, technically, right?
because now you're taking this outside traded commodity and you're using it to fuel the network.
Yeah, it's
Where's the
Feedback loop there. Well, the fact that the miners can adjust their costs or their prices, right?
Yeah.
They're saying, I'm willing to do the transaction for slightly less, because to me, that's what it's worth.
that's one of
So
the
it balances
I
itself
don't
out.
understand yet. How there's
Yeah.
I think you got to think of it like two different things. I mean, Ethereum, ETH itself, commodity that's traded.
Mhm.
It's not really. You could hold on to it, but it's there's a reason why it's called gas, right? You think of it more like petroleum.
Yeah.
And then within the ecosystem, you need it for smart contracts.
Yeah.
So it is the same thing, but it's two separate.
That's what I'm thinking.
So
I just
that's
want to know if there's a
kinda-
connection there.
So yes, the value of F might be low right now, but its use within the ecosystem is still very much important. So there might be some, it might affect it, but I think the miners have dropped off a little bit because the price has gone down. But those are pure profit miners.
Yeah, but there's also the $9 million shortfall. Which you're
Yeah. That helps.
Sorry?
$9 million shortfall.
Well,
Because they raised all these bitcoins for the price of Bitcoin.
I know.
But that's development costs. But in terms of
development.
trading, though.
Yeah, but the development cost is going to affect the
Well, they got a big fat check last week. So
Oh, did they?
it's rumored, and it seems like it's emerging on the.
Well, I imagine I don't think it would be that hard to
Either way,
raise
there's a
money.
lot of businesses now
Yeah.
working for it.
Yeah, I mean, all these
That's-
banks are supporting
yeah,
it.
yeah.
All these major companies.
There's a really big company in New
Hackathons,
York
too.
called
Yeah.
Consys.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll raise the money
It's
easily.
doing
Maybe
well.
2 times over.
The number I heard is 300.
Million?
Could we
With the research.
Yeah.
But they raised 300 million.
Yes.
We're looking for now.
So Iuri, are you finished technical?
Well, no,
What's that
this was like the first technical part.
15 minutes
So-
presentation.
So
Keep
let's,
going.
how much time do you need to go through the technical?
I think 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay.
So what we could do is try to remember our questions in our mind,
Okay, I'm just thinking.
because we had a good discussion, but we cannot do this again, otherwise we'll be here till 5 p.m.
Okay, let Yuri go.
You want me to share your presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can actually put. I'm gonna put the computer at the same time.
Okay.
Sorry guys, just.
Instead of showing the Hangout, why don't you show the presentation?
Yeah.
But not inside the Hangout.
No, it's.
Because it has to show to the other people too. I just thought it was
Oh, yeah, right.
It'll keep showing it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, so can you put the
Next slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Embark. Embark.
So Embark is a deployment tool slash framework. It's done in Node.js, and the goal of it is to make that development as easy as possible. It has different features. So the first feature, and perhaps most important, is that it automatically deploys your contracts and it makes them available as GS bindings. So that means like if you have a contract called, well, in the demo it's called simple storage, then once you run it, in the JavaScript will automatically be available as a simple storage. You can just access it directly. You don't need to worry about deploying, about gas costs. It just works. It also has some facilities to be able to deploy to decentralized systems like IPFS. It comes with the Express server for convenience, but you're not limited to that. You can use Meteor. You can use a normal web server. You can just share a file. You can put it in some decentralized storage. You can actually adapt by email to your friend. You're not limited to the particular stack. Okay. It also has the testing framework, so you can test the contracts. Recently, the version from this week or last week, I added a virtual machine. I had a framework that uses a virtual machine in JavaScript done by the Ethereum team. So I leverage that to be able to test the contracts in an isolated virtual machine, which is way faster to test. It's also flexible, and in the next few weeks we'll support things like be able to set the time, go back in time, go forward in time. It's really useful, especially if you do something like, say, a lottery, which is everyone loves to do a lottery. And if you want to test, say, after 1 week, will the lottery work? And you have to do it like in a normal chain. Is really very annoying to do. But with the testing framework, you can say, okay, now 1 week passed. Can I take my funds? Okay, it does. You are sure that the contract works.
Okay.
It also keeps track of the contracts. So it only deploys the contracts if it really needs to. So even if you change an internal variable that doesn't change the behavior in any way, it will not deploy it because it knows nothing changed. If you change the behavior, then it will deploy the contract. This works even if you shut down a computer to turn it on again, because it keeps a sort of like a database file that keeps track of all that. You can also manage different chains. So by default, you have this development chain. So this way you have an account already funded. You can deploy your contracts. It doesn't cost a thing. But you can also deploy to the production net, to the test net, or have a private net with some friends to be able to share those contracts to test. And it also has some facilities for so-called advanced multiple contracts, which I'll go into it, which you can configure it in a way that's easy to interact with multiple contracts. So this is a quick demo. This is basically the classical demo, which you do this and you get the working app. I can do it here quickly. And bear with me, live coding, usually sometimes things go wrong, but let's hope everything goes well. So you do an Embark demo first. This is after the installation. You can see on the GitHub, there's installation instructions. It's pretty much an npm install, and that's it. As long as you have the Go client for Ethereum. And okay, it will install. So after the installation, you access that directory, and then you have to run two commands in two separate shells. One is the Embark simulator or Embark blockchain. So the Embark simulator it takes advantage of the virtual machine done by the Ethereum team in JavaScript to simulate Ethereum. Advantage of that is really fast because you just click a button and the transaction is instantaneous. So it's good to quickly test some apps. At the same time, it tests some limitations. It doesn't support events and then some other things. Embark blockchain runs a real blockchain. A real blockchain can be usually developed on blockchain. Disadvantage is that it's a bit slower, just like the real world, because the block times are 15 seconds. So that means when you do a change, you have to wait around 15 seconds to actually see the change. I prefer usually to do Embark blockchain just so I can actually see how it would work in the real world. But sometimes this is nice just for a quick thing. Okay, so it's installed now. I'm gonna access that directory. Okay, so I'm gonna run the simulator this time. I hope it's not running. No. So I'll run Embark simulator, Embark 1. And it compiles the contracts. When you do Embark demo, it has a default contract in it that I'll exemplify here in a second. So this is the demo application. The CSS, I guess, is a bit messed up, but so this is the button. You just have to take my word. So when I do get value, it shows me okay, the value is 100. On the JavaScript, this is what it's actually doing. It's just doing simple storage.get. That's it. Then I do, okay, I have here number 10. I want to set the number 10, get value, and it changes to number 10. So, and you can interact with the, if you open the developer tools. Unfortunately, developer tools, I don't think I can increase the font, but I can do here simple, sorry guys, simple storage.get, and there's a bit of a trick here. When you do this and it returns this big number, the reason is because in JavaScript, there's a limit how big the number can be. So if you have a really big number, JavaScript cannot handle it.
What is it? Double float Java or?
I'm not sure what's in it. But you can put like if you put like a trillion equals a trillion plus 1, JavaScript will return true because it just can't handle it. So
you can't put the font size. You can just Control+ to bump up the font size and the.
Can I do it in here?
Yeah.
Oh, I can. Okay.
Oh yeah, so much better.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I couldn't do that in console. So the Ethereum lib comes with a utility called bigint. So I can just put 2 number, and it will convert that to that number. Now, if you see here the network, if we can see the network,
You can find it.
Just go back down a bit.
If you see the network, when I execute, when I say I put here a set value, it does a post, and it does a post to my local host, which I'm running my Ethereum node, and it will have the information that okay, I'm sending transaction to this address, which is the contract, and it will have certain data, and this data is actually the value that I set here. So the way Ethereum dApps could work, there's many different architectures, but one way is each of us is running an Ethereum node, and when I access a dApp, the dApp connects to that node that has access to the same chain, and when I interact with the dApp, interacts with that node, and that's how it gets information from the chain. So there's no central web server. It's completely centralized. The backend is effectively the blockchain. It's the Ethereum blockchain.
So if we're looking at the same blockchain, you said it, I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even when set transactions, you can, in theory, send a transaction to another person. It puts it in a blockchain. You don't even need to put it yourself. As long as everyone has a consensus on what is the status, what is the actual blockchain. Okay, so okay, then you can also do Embark spec to run the specs, test the contract. I'll show here what is the actual code. So the next page. Okay, so this is the default structure. This is actually configurable in Embark. You can have your own structure. Usually people use Meteor. They have their own structure to fit the Meteor structure, for instance. But this is the default one. So you'll have a directory called contracts, which you can put any contract that is made in Solidity or Serpent. Serpent is also supported.
Serpent is the other compiler, right?
Yeah, it's all a compiler. So Serpent is more similar to Python, and Solidity is a sort of fusion between JavaScript and C. So it's almost like a JavaScript with types, because you can have unsigned integers, you can have integers with 8 bits. And then you have the config part. The config part, this one is to configure the different blockchains that you have. I use here the terminology environments. If any of you do web development, like in Ruby on Rails, so you have different environments. You have your development environment, you have your production environment, your staging environment. So here's a similar concept that you have a development environment, you can have a staging with this test, you can have a production, you can have a private net. Yeah.
What's the IDE you use?
IDE?
Yeah.
Don't use IDE. I use Vim.
Okay.
Just use Vim.
Yeah. There is an IDE though that comes with the tools.
Yeah.
It's
just like
there's a mix.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not released yet. But,
it just got released this week. I think.
They got released.
Yeah, they changed the C++. They changed it to Turbo something.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of new tools on there.
Yeah, Mix I did it before. It can be quite useful because you can step through the contract, which can be very good for development. This is not mutually exclusive. It doesn't exclude from that. You can use both of them together. I think if anything, they actually complement each other.
Do you know anybody who's imported it into Eclipse by any chance? I like using Eclipse.
What?
You know that you can import the.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant what I developed with.
No, I mean like the IDE.
You can use this with any IDE.
Any IDE?
Yeah, you can. It's not. It does not force you to use any.
Okay.
Especially IDE is different.
Okay.
So there's a blockchain configuration. There's also the contract configuration, which we'll go through it. The contract is, you can configure per environment what are the parameters of your contract, and also some specification, how to interact with other contracts, how much you're willing to pay for each contract as well, the gas cost. And finally here it goes the tasks for the contract tasks. Can you go to next? Yeah. So this is a contract example. This is a contract in Solidity. So, well, I guess the highlighting is here. So the structure of a Solidity contract is usually have the contract part. You can think of it almost like a class, in a sense. Here you have the constructor of the contract, and which you can pass certain initial values to that contract. You can see here there's the type, the unsigned integer. And so once a contract is deployed, then you would call it one of its methods, just like I did here in the demo app. Like I called set when I pressed the button, and I called get when I was getting the value of that variable. So here you can see I initialize with certain value, say 100. Then whatever someone calls the set method, it will update it to that new value. And then there's two ways I can get that variable. I put here just for educational purposes, which I can do a get that returns that variable. Or since it's declared here as public, I can also access directly the value. I cannot set it directly, but I can access it. This can be useful because you might need to do, I don't know, like multiply it by 10 and do some gymnastics with it. Usually when it's a constant, you will not pay gas for it because it's done in your machine. Internally, only when you do a change in the blockchain that you actually are paying for it, because you're actually modifying something. And it will take somewhere between 10 to 15 seconds, depending on the block times. Okay, so the next one.
Are there deconstructors?
Deconstructors?
Yeah, I can see you have a constructor, you need a constructor.
You mean to destroy the constructor? Yeah. There's not like in C, like I think in C++ there's like a tools, and you have a command called suicide.
It kills the contract.
Yeah. So you can do suicide contracts.
Same thing as panic.
I don't know. I don't think so. I never heard of panic, but suicide. You can suicide a contract as long as you have you can do it in a transaction. Okay. You will destroy the contract and you get some gas.
Okay.
You get some gas back for destroying, because you kind of release into the space from the blockchain.
Just a question.
Yeah.
You said it would take 10 minutes. So to ensure that we all have time to present what we want to, I'd like to see whether we continue on this or. Yeah.
How many more slides?
There's 14 slides, so slide number 6.
Okay.
I thought that'd be faster. For me, it feels very fast.
Okay.
Like
can you do 1 minute per slide?
Okay.
I can time you.
So this one I already did it on the browser. You already seen it. Like when a contract's called simple storage, it will be available in the JavaScript as simple storage dot and then whatever method. So it's quite simple to interact with it.
It's just standard coding syntax.
Yeah. So next slide. This is an example of a task. Contracts called simple storage will be available. This is DemocracyOS. Let's use the JavaScript framework for testing. So before everything, we just deploy all the contracts, and then when we test, we say, okay, if I set to 150 and then I do a get, then I assert that the resulting value is going to be 150. That it's actually updated. And this, if you're doing asynchronous, this is kind of important that you put here the done and done when it finishes. Otherwise, we'll hang because it will wait forever for it to finish for the synchronous code. All right, so next one. Okay, so this is more fun part. This is the contracts part. So when you do configuration for the contract, you specify the name of the contract and then its arguments. So here I have a contract called user manager, which I deploy with the value 100. Here I put an initial string. And now this my main contract, you'll see there's here a $sign together with the name of another contract, like user manager, my storage. And the useful is this is if you're doing this manually and you have a contract that needs another contract, and you have to deploy them manually, it's very convoluted because you need to deploy one, get its address, get its address. put it on the other contract, deploy it.
You can't
wait
code
for
one.
it.
You have to once you deploy one, you have to code. You need one already to be deployed before you finish coding the other one.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you have multiple, yeah.
Next slide.
Sorry.
Next slide.
Yeah. If you have if you have multiple contracts that they all depend on each other, there needs to be a certain deployment order. So this everything just works automatically. It takes a lot of the work out of the way. You can
Go back.
yeah, can go back to the next one. Next one.
The other side?
Yeah, this one. No, other one. Okay, you can also specify a certain address for a contract. This is in case, say, maybe he already deployed a contract, and I'm just interacting with that contract. I don't even need the code of that contract, or at least the full code. I just need the address. So I can specify an address, and it will not deploy. It will just take this address for reference. You can also do deployment actions. So you can do on deploy, and then you can do several things. So here in this case, on deploy, it's telling this user management contract to add permissions for this contract that just got deployed. You might have different contracts. Say you have a contract that is responsible for storage, and if you redeploy that contract, you're going to lose everything, right? So that was in that contract. You cannot really reuse that data. So a lot of cases you want static contracts, and you're going to have contracts that you're going to keep updating and interact. So this is very useful to interact with those other contracts. And
when you write contract, is it like a stack-based system?
When you what?
Is it a stack-based system when you write contracts?
It gets compiled into
like stack is like, or is it more like code, like just write it out? Like assembler or kind of?
No, it gets turned into the compilers turn them into like assembler code that the ethereal virtual machine executes.
But when you're writing your contract, you have to think of it in the terms of when you're writing like assembler, like now you have to stack things and move up to, or is it just like coding?
You mean pointers?
You mean like in the same as in C++?
Like is coding like Bitcoin script, or is coding like regular coding?
Both.
No, but I think he's asking about the stack. We'll come back to that later at assembler.
Yeah.
I know what he's getting at. But
Okay.
we can ask that later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next one, another thing you can do as well is you can have instances. So in this case, there's a contract called a stablecoin. You can go there also. What's the amazing thing that's a stablecoin? And in this case, I have a stablecoin, but I actually want to deploy two coins. I want to deploy a dollar stablecoin, and I want to deploy a euro dollar stablecoin. So instead of just copy pasting the code and doing the exact same thing, I can just do instance of, and it will deploy the same code, but with different parameters and different names. I can also then say the master one. I can say, yeah, I don't really want to deploy this one. Yeah.
What is the 2,000 and 10,000 represent?
This is just an argument. This is just an argument for the.
So this would be like a 5-to-1 ratio in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in a stablecoin context, yeah. Okay, next one. Okay, so the chain management, when you go to this config blockchain file, you can specify different environments. This is an example of a staging environment. You specify here the ports of your node. Whitelist is basically what domains are allowed to access your node, which is useful for security reasons. This is for security reasons not really good idea, because that means any site can access your Ethereum node. The data directory, if you put this, Embark will use the default. Otherwise, you can specify. Data directory as well will be where your keys will be, your blockchain will be. So when you're working with different chains, it's useful to specify where those chains will be stored, so they don't conflict with each other. There's a network ID. Network ID can be 0 or 1, or 0 for the testnet, 1 for the production, for the mainnet, and any other number for private nets. And here, when you specify the account, you can specify your current Ethereum account, for example, so you can deploy to that account. There's other parameters. There's just like a peak on it. But so if you wanna have your own private net, you basically would, instead of staging, you would add your own, say, mainnet with your own parameters, and then you can use that for the build. And the way you use that is that the structure is always the same. It's always Embark, the command, and then the environment. So if you remember in the beginning, I did Embark blockchain in Embark 1. By default, that uses development as the environment. However, you can specify. You can, so if the environment you want to interact with was staging, you could do Embark blockchain staging, Embark 1 staging, and that would work. The same applies to any other commands. And the next slide. Was it 16?
14.
14, okay. So we finish. Thank you. All right, so, well, the other thing is that you can do is that you can deploy to IPFS, which is interplanetary file system. So they're a very cool, cool project.
Yeah.
So you have to have the IPFS daemon running, and then your blockchain node running, either Embark blockchain or your own GAT node. And then you just do Embark IPFS, and it will deploy your application to IPFS. It will then return you the link, so you can just say, well, in the console, it will return the link, and you can just share that link and access. And then anyone who has IPFS will be able to access your DApp in a decentralized manner.
What exactly is IPFS?
So it's a decentralized file system. It would be the simplified version of it. The technical details are not that.
It's like an online filing system.
Yeah, it's like it's exactly what it said, decentralized file system.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like NTFS but online.
So if I want to share something with you,
Yeah,
I'll take a
something
file,
like that.
it takes a hash of the file, and then I can give you that hash.
Oh, okay.
then-
So that whole system is called IPFS.
Yeah, and you connect to IPFS, and then the nodes find me as the file.
I just didn't know it was called IPFS.
So there's two projects that are quite, three projects that are quite popular for this kind of use case. There's IPFS, there is MadeSafe, and there's StoreG. StoreG. IPFS is quite popular because it actually works enough. You can use it right now. So it gets a lot of good rap because of that. Something you just can do it right now. It's basically.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Are we into questions now? Are we alright to move to questions? Let's move to questions. When you have your app, you whitelisted the sites that have access to your blockchain node.
Yeah.
When you deploy it on IPFS, do you whitelist the gateway or do you whitelist localhost? I don't understand. Because you don't know where it's coming from.
When you do the deployment, the whitelisting doesn't matter. The whitelisting applies
for privacy.
Applies to you.
It's just for
It's just for you, yeah.
Oh.
So if you say you were developing this and you deploy to IPFS and you give him the link, and actually most people you give the link to, you will just, assuming they have the IPFS in the first place, it will just not work because you will not detect the node. You will try to connect to localhost 8101 and okay, there's nothing there, I can't connect. So I would have to run the Ethereum node, and then the application would work. So a lot of Ethereum sites right now, when you go to them, you usually get if you don't have the Ethereum node running, you get like an arrow, and they have an explanation saying, okay, you have to run this to be able to access. In the future, when we get, we're probably going to get different tools to deal with this. One of them is Mist, which is a browser, and that kind of browser just runs Ethereum in the background, and when you access the site, it just works automatically.
So I need to give you the IPFS hash and tell you should have Ethereum running on the board, whatever.
Yeah. In an ideal world, this would just be transparent. Everyone would just have it running, not even know about it. Maybe in the future. Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a question. Who's the gatekeeper of time?
Of time?
Yes. The real-time clock.
I think the miners will just agree with each other.
The miners agree with each other?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly about the mechanism. We're reading what Bitcoin more or less. I think there's a certain tolerance of error. But
if the answer is, I don't know. Next question.
If you're in a hurry today.
Can you write down a document?
That's a lot of questions. Okay, this is good. We're making fast progress. It was about 8 minutes per minute. We got some questions. We got a lot of good material, good screen, good voice, good air, big crowd. I'm glad the meeting is called. Are we, Fabio? Can we continue? More questions?
Yeah, I feel it's just that I feel we have to structure a bit so that we can also have time to go to other topics.
So the question about the stack has to do with the procedures processing, because on a stack you absolutely must handle completely the first thing, the top thing on the stack.
Yeah.
And totally, finish it, and then it's like killed or dead or it's over, right? So I think the answer is it's not completely stack-like.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Okay, so it's not as restrictive as that.
Hey,
But I don't have the answer for real.
Okay. Do you have other questions, or do you want to go to another?
Can I see the list?
Yeah. Can I go to Google Images? Or?
Yeah, you can see it on internet.
Oh yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna check it out myself.
It's pretty much. It looks like a browser, but it's not a browser. Not really. It's on a web browser, that's for sure.
Okay.
They've moved like the concept of tabs to the side.
To the side, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Ooh.
Side tabs, we never.
Crazy. I think there's a video that explains why.
Yeah.
Made the decision.
Yeah, the UI decision was the rationale behind it is that it's almost like an iPhone in the sense that you go to app store, a app store in this case. You add your app, and then it becomes it stays on the sidebar. And it's still a web app. It's still a local HTML file, JavaScript, and so on. So it's still a web technology, but it just stays a bookmark towards on the side.
I just want to acknowledge the people online. So there's 3 people following us here. Maybe they have some questions too, so just give them a chance to answer a question if they want to. There's Maria and Tammy.
I'm listening, but I'm just right now I'm just taking it all in because I'm just waiting until we start talking about the UI. But yeah, I'm trying to take it all in. It's a bit heavy on the technical side for me, but I'm trying to gain a better grasp of it.
Yeah, this one was a bit technical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Maria, she's a UI UX designer. Okay, that's what she's interested in.
I'm really interested in like a more workshop day with Iuri, like where we could do something with Iuri, where he would take us through the development of a very basic
Hello
dApps.
world kind.
Yeah, something like that. We should organize.
Well, there's some good.
Were you in last Meetup?
No, I was not. Did that happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's keep that on the docket and organize that for like, I don't know, a week from now or something.
But maybe you
Just
need something
for the
that
people who
everyone
are
brings their
interested.
laptops, and we go to like a
Yeah.
program.
Like your hackathon one.
Yeah, we could set up even a chain here. We have a lot of computers in the lab. Like, I mean, we have laptops we could set up. And everybody brings their and we set up a chain and we start.
I think that also it might be useful to have kind of like a co-design session with paper and pens and markers too, because for when you're looking at visualizing interactions, code is great, but it's a bit abstracted from what the end user sees. So I think that if we're going to have something like a hackathon, maybe in parallel to that, we could kind of play around with components and visualizing how that space will be divided up on the actual interface.
Yeah, we could do a mini hackathon where we have 5 components that interrelate, and that way it's like 5 projects and 5 teams.
Yeah.
That's just an idea. I think it'll work, because then the people who are not going to be coding, they are still very functional with their with the paper, because we have nice wall space here, so we can use it. If we're
That's
here.
good.
If they invite us back.
Right. Nathaniel?
Jim, do you think it's good if you do implementation?
Yeah, I could start with our use case. Present.
Can you present something?
No, not really. I think a lot of you haven't heard of Sensorica before. Some of you have, a lot of you haven't.
Just
a very brief, yes.
Yeah, how much time?
5 minutes, is that okay?
Timekeeper?
Okay. No, I mean, if you think 5 is good.
Wow, present Sensorica usually takes an hour in 1 minute, and then our use case, no. Very simply, Sensorica. How do you create the company of the future, or a vision of the company of the future based on emerging trends, emerging practices that you see around you, these community-driven projects, innovative technology, 3D printing, drones? How do you create this company that exists in the future in this utopian world? How do you create it now and plug it into the institutions of today? So Sensorica started quickly as a grassroots movement about 5 years ago, focused on what Tibby said before, commons-based peer production. Everybody's a peer, we all share a common space. It's organized like a wiki. Okay, they focused on open source hardware, okay, because it's the nature of the thing, and the focus was on open source hardware. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm going too fast there. And essentially, the niche market was scientific instruments, so something that could be directly manufactured in the lab. Okay, so this organization grew with projects and this, and what kind of emerged was a contributory accounting system. How do you track people's value in this ecosystem? To reward participants in the right way, right? Because what usually happens in these communities is you have 2 or 3 people, they form a company, they try to market something, the rest of the community doesn't get rewarded, right? So this kind of value equation that we call, that's a concept of distributing value based on the contribution, okay? A parametric contribution by project, and at the same time, how can you share resources, right? So you need a kind of system that plugs in the resources. If somebody shares a microscope for a project or this, how is that handled as a contribution as well? So that gave birth to the value accounting system and the NRP that we call it. It's a network resource planner. It's like an ERP for networks. This attracted the attention of some people that wanted to devote their time into building tools for the next economy, which was Lynn and Bob, who were living in the woods in Wisconsin. And a project took place, and they started developing the value accounting system. Before it was spreadsheet based, and if you look at it, it's been 3 years in development. The model that's been growing inside Sensorica, because we have a network which is where all the action takes place, right? Which is open to the world basically. It's a company flipped inside out. That's a non-registered entity. You have a non-profit that's the custodian. So if you need rented space, all this, who handles the assets without taking ownership of the people involved, okay? And part of the model is also, I mean, if you need to portray an image because you bring a product to market, you need a certain image, you need a name, you need this, you need an interface, right? You need somebody that's responsible. You create a dummy shell company, so that we call that an exchange firm. Okay, so it's like this 3-ring circuit, okay? And it's been something that's been growing, and the whole we've developed rules for governance. We use a couple of online tools for that. We're using Lumio for governance right now. Lumio doesn't really fit the purpose because it's everybody's even. So there's a bit of a meritocracy in our system. Okay. Who has more weight in the vote? Is somebody that just came on the project last week, or somebody that initialized the project, or somebody that's been contributing often, somebody that has a better reputation. So there's all these metrics, right? That's the only thing that's missing from our software, let's say, that we need to implement. Okay. So our use case for Ethereum is one to decentralize our tools because they're running on a web server somewhere, right? Second of all, it's the distributed consensus mechanisms that are involved, and so my idea is 3 decentralized apps.
Let me just summary here, just to make the parallel. Just a second.
Yeah, go for it.
People are miners. They mine real stuff, right? They do hardware. We have resources that we use, microscope spaces, stuff like that, that they can have their own contracts associated with them. They belong to whom, what is the rules of use, of access, so on. The value equation is a social contract. How do we share the benefits if we produce something? The governance equation is the distribution of decision making within that group of miners, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a good one.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So our model has been adopted by other organizations around the world, and we've influenced a lot of other organizations with the model, and that are using the tools as well. The UI needs a lot of work. Now we were thinking, we were exploring the idea of putting our tools on the blockchain. It's been a while, especially for micropayments that need to flow sometimes for various projects. So I had an idea for basically 3 decentralized apps that could be used by networks or by corporations. So it's how do you tap into the crowd? How do you properly crowdsource for R&D? How can you crowdsource for physical resources? Okay. So how do you open up a company to the crowd and properly repay the crowd? So that would be a business use case for the decentralized app. And of course, the network, our model, the company of the future, let's say, the tool for that. So there's that, and I see it as 3 different applications. So governance app, I don't know what other projects are out there that's maybe something like Lumio that's already existing on Ethereum. I don't know if you guys know Lumio a bit.
It should be something like a big forum, like open government.
But if you want to, I'm going to talk about Lumio too, because it's kind of the same thing that we do. So
okay, yeah.
So 5 minutes up, but you were describing the need, and now you're separating the 3 possible solutions, or 3 types of solutions.
Well, I don't see it as one package. I see it as 3 tools that other communities could use too, including a business community.
Okay, so physical resources, governance, and crowdsourcing.
Yes.
Okay. And what's next from here? Q&A?
Any questions?
Just describe your 3 applications?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a quick question. How are you mentioned Lynn and Bob, and I've just been listening in on GitHub on Open Value Networks.
Okay.
How are you guys?
We're the ones that have been driving the.
How we're connected?
How we're connected?
Sorry, I started to say that, but really what I was curious about is how are you guys coordinating vocabulary? Like, when I've been listening in on GitHub, that seems.
You mean Open Vocab?
Yeah.
The Open Vocab project. We haven't really been contributing to that.
Okay.
There's a little bit, but we haven't been really contributing to that. We're mostly for the NRP and the value accounting system. That's been the marriage between us. That's been.
Open Vocab. That project came into existence because there's other organizations that are interested in the open value network model. So how do you do peer-to-peer production? So they operate in different contexts. Okay, so how do you call? You have ontologies of activities, of resources. So how do you become interoperable between networks? Okay, so imagine now the world is a big network. We're peers. We do economic activities. Okay, we do something. A project becomes just a cluster of activities within this huge network, right? And we can all agree with each other. We have a common way to name things in order to find them, right? It goes also into transporting your reputation and your socioeconomic profile from one context to another, and all that stuff, right? Fair enough.
I'll have one question. So basically, you can tokenize production, and then you can, whatever your product is, you can re-tokenize it.
What do you mean by tokenize it?
Like, because basically you're giving shares for work.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're tokenizing in the share system.
Yes.
And you can then create a product and then re-tokenize that product.
Yes.
Is that what you guys are doing now?
Yeah.
For your value network?
Yeah.
How is that?
It's a stake in equity and everything.
How is the tokenization happening right now?
How is it happening?
Yeah, is it shared? So what is it?
Well, everything is, so when I showed here the value equation, for example,
Yep.
okay, I'm going to go back here. So first of all, what the system does, it makes transparent what everybody is doing. Okay, so there's a ledger of activity and of use of resources.
Well, not everybody is logging, because if you do work but you don't log it, it's like a donation. So it doesn't have to appear.
That's a gift, right? Totally. It's a gift. Somebody retweets your tweet, you know, it's a gift.
So there is a database
of
activities and use of resources, right? And that activity creates a network of things, agents, resources, activities. We work together to use this thing, we use these devices to use it, and that gets used in some other thing. All these relationships are mapped, okay? So after that ledger, your input can be time, your skills, money, some material resources that you have. And then the value equation essentially describes how all these types of involvement or investment can be brought on the same coin, on the same kind of unit.
Value equation is a parametric equation that's democratically chosen.
Agreed upon.
Agreed upon, or it could be like the initiator of a project.
Right. That's the thing, so it's per project, right?
Yes, it's project. It's project based. Yeah.
So it's
Project
not
based.
just, so it's not like,
Sensorica wide.
it's not like, it's not 5 of us were to start something, then we could.
Yeah, you could adopt our system and adopt your value equation.
So you have one, you have a default one as well.
No, not really. I mean,
No, there's no default value.
There's no default.
Okay.
But there are templates.
The default is no matter what everybody does, split everything the same way. That's the default.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
So just to finish this, so once you capture once you capture what everybody's doing, okay, like here, this is live data. Once you capture what everybody's doing, then you go through this process of evaluation. Okay, and that is a social contract. How do we measure time against money invested against other things according to priority of the task, importance, if you invest before or after.
Right.
Okay.
It's
And then the value equation, there's many parameters that you can put, or you can make it very simple. We say we're egalitarian, and an hour is an hour for everybody, and an hour is $7 for everybody. Whatever, Or you can make it very meritocratic. Now we're getting into game theory. What do you want to incentivize? You want to incentivize frequent behavior, the amount of work people put into it, or early adoption of a project, whatever. Okay.
So somehow you arrive at an agreement for that.
Yes, and that the value equation describes, it ends up spitting out a pie chart.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about a pie chart, we talk about one coin, right? We have to put all these things, okay, into one unit in order to produce a pie chart. So when we talk about coinage or tokenizing stuff, okay, that's a way to that's one part of it. And then when you have a product that sells on the market, it has a price. Now we're talking about exchanges. This is just co-creation. What went into the product, okay, and how do we split that into equity for everyone, okay? And then once you do an exchange, you go outside of your context. You exchange with the world, with the market. And you can get a box of tomatoes, you can get bitcoins, you can get dollars, and you can distribute it according to these percentages. That's all it is, right?
Yeah, I just want to check. So basically, the warrants of all these transactions, and the fact that people actually input their own hours into that, it's the whole system. Like the whole system, the warrants.
It's the what system?
The warrant of you just guarantee that everything is in place. Like I'm not cheating about the
well, I mean, anybody could look at it, right? I mean, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's transparent, right? I mean, it's
so
you can
supposedly have no incentive to lie about that because people will know.
Yeah, they'll check it. They'll check it.
Yeah. So how do you establish truth?
Yeah.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with the real world, right?
Well, then you get into the 51% problem,
consensus.
right?
So
no,
it's peer evaluation, essentially.
Yeah.
And there is a reputation mechanism that is there, and your reputation score can be linked to the value equation and affect your equity.
So if you have a governance
there's a penalty system. You just screw up and say,
hours a lot, then your hours are worth
not
less.
kicked out of the project, but
But your score will devalue, and then you will have less power in decisions. And
Could we maybe refocus on Ethereum? So which link could you
Yeah.
comments? Or do you have a question?
Is there a question here?
Yeah. Maybe. Ideally, the system would be something like a social platform. Okay, something like a social platform like Facebook, and you don't just log your time there. You share your work with a little documentation, with a picture, a little text, and then all the people that are subscribed in that field or in that specific project or whatever,
they rate it.
They have it in the timeline, and they can feedback, and they can evaluate.
The metrics need to flow with like the governance, right? Because you have a governance equation that, again, the same way like the value equation is decided by project, and it's what weight you want to attribute to different things. Okay, when it comes time for decision making, right? So how much weight does everybody have? So stuff that gets logged here needs to flow into the governance for decision making, right? So you need like an open API Lumio, let's say, where this data affects the weight of everybody, you know, which is fully adjustable.
And you're providing a way for them, for any given project, for the people in that project to walk through their value equation that's specific for them, or do they come with that already figured out to this?
Oh, you mean the service we offer?
Yeah.
No, we consult, like, okay, like we.
Right.
Yes, of course. Yeah. We often have groups that come here and we walk them through it, and you know, we offer the service of implementing, obviously, this, you know, idea. This, you know.
I really like to go back to Ethereum because I feel it's another topic.
Yeah. So how does that tie into Ethereum?
So I mean, it's a good use case for Ethereum, right?
Okay, I've worked on the similar systems because that's where I met Tiberius originally. So we're working in parallel. We talk sometimes. But there's a lot of granularity in the double checking systems, the proof systems, and the truth systems. There's a lot of that, which we're not going to discuss about today. But it might be a way to embed it into an Ethereum contract. The Ethereum contract could be the bare bones, the skeleton. And then you need a lot of interaction systems, like feedback, like Tammy said, input all the time. Because it's a way of double checking. This is truly happening. It's truly real. He is here. He is doing the work. I confirm. I agree. You know. Otherwise, there's a question later. What did you do?
Yeah. There's also deliverables that should be documented that you have there, and they're there. So.
So it's equally as difficult as all the other time management systems when you have a boss and you have a punch card. You know. But it's a group, and the group is helping but also observing. And you have to, at some point, you need 1 or 2 or 3 people to say, yes, this did happen. You know, we did have a meeting, and we did have an agenda.
Yeah. Well, need to leave traces, right, for people to pick up and see.
So you mind if I take everything into projects?
Yeah.
Say a word about it. So we are working on a project which is to improve adherence therapy, and what we thought is usually when you got data about medical treatments, you put them in a secure database. And thought we had was just to put them on Ethereum, so that each child or each parent would create an account and send the data to Ethereum, so that the data would be public, but only the users could know which data they have. And if a doctor would need them, the parent would export the data and send him by email, for example. So it would be a possibility to reappropriate one's own information. That could be maybe something we could discuss.
And why specifically you use Ethereum to do that? Can you just build a platform like anonymous platform?
I think, yeah, if we have a normal database, then we would always have the owner's problem. So say if we want our project to be secure on the long term, we cannot rely on a company or on a group. And it's better if we can spread it so that no one can stop the project. Because I feel if you have projects that are supported by companies, by medical companies or others, they can just say, stop, we don't want to continue. And one aim of our project is really to work on different levels, have many people work together, but also put a governance that ensures the project will continue, even if we don't want.
I think what you can do, it really depends on the specifics, but generally you can put the date on IPFS. You can do a contract on Ethereum that, given a transaction, it stores the origin of that transaction and associates the IPFS hash table.
Yeah.
So it'd be more like a hash table of addresses. And I guess the only issue would be maybe to validate who's putting correct data. I think that would be the main problem.
The data is not a human entering it; it's software. It's a game. It's games.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys understood the context. So this is a device used for therapy for kids with cystic fibrosis. So there's a game that they're playing, okay, and the game is driven by a device that they blow into and has a sort of a pressure sensor to follow the breathing, right? That's what we want to exercise, the breathing. And so the game and the device, they produce data about how the therapy is going, and that data can be shared with doctors. And if there's enough of data, scientists might be also interested in doing some worldwide, statistics about how kids are doing therapy at home. Okay, so the device generates the data. In this particular case, and now the question is, this would be a great example for the data to be put on something like Ethereum. There you go. There's no data.
So what's happening to the data right now? It's on the server right now.
It's on your computer.
Okay. Put it on Ethereum. Why? Like, what would be to secure it, or?
Well, to make it available worldwide, first of all, and to put the patient at the center, in control of his own data.
Okay.
You're setting up the foundation for research
at large.
At large,
yeah.
Peer-to-peer research.
So
now it's a mess.
You said the data is available, but only the owner of that data knows that's his data.
But at the same time, everyone could access or filter the data in general and know how much children play or what they do to therapy.
So I don't know. I know like Google, like they track like all the stuff that we do in terms of that.
Yeah.
Is it like, and they say, if you go on a computer mode that they're not actually tracking what you're doing and everything. But is it like, so basically instead of having, so everything that they're tracking would be available to everyone, but only the user would be able to identify what's his, whereas now with Google, for example, it's Google knows everything.
Yeah. So it's using similar to the Project Adapt model. You like the very secure Internet of Things type devices.
Yes.
So the security rests with the person, but on a larger sense, there can still be data that is anonymous that can be pulled from that, and just using that as a blockchain to make sure that that's the case instead of using it as a centralized server. I mean,
you don't have to trust the hospital for.
Yeah, but then but my question is, how would that interact with hospital databases already? In terms of, because there's probably stringent medical security protocols, and having this device would make sense to do that. But how does that work with systems that are already occurring up in place? Because it's not that you can't, it's not that that's not a problem, it's that expecting every doctor to it's just
you have to adopt it.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you like adopt it?
Well,
That's a bit
I'll
of a
just give a
pain.
brief overview. Besides the project itself and what it does, what it instills like game therapy, right? A therapeutic game, right? The business model is new. It's something new and right, Fabio?
Mm-hmm. Everything blockchain. I mean, those kind of
because the business they adopt. I mean, the project is a Sensorica project now, and it's the structure that we're presenting it for funding. Okay, is basically a copy of Sensorica's model. It's the same, three-step. Actually, no, there is no company. We don't need a company. It's just a non-profit thing, and the device is developed. It's prototyped, whatever. We already have somebody that's going to manufacture and distribute it once the project is completed. So we're not selling the device. It's going to be given to children for free. We're going to raise money for the development of the games, because you need a lot of games, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So how does their doctor?
So this is another groundbreaking thing.
Yeah.
Do we throw that in the mix too? I think that's what you're trying to say, right? Do we set a new standard for medical records?
It's an issue. Well, not an issue. It's a challenge.
Are we complicating
with
things?
or without Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
Just to give a short answer, and we will maybe refocus on Ethereum. But it's a new project, and the idea is to have new data. So today, children don't play; they just have a small medical device, and the doctors don't have any data about the therapy at all. So we could say we can put this data there, and if you want to access it, then you have to just follow the standards we use. But I think the idea is really to open it and say that could be a possibility to use Ethereum.
I mean, in that sense, it would definitely make sense to use Ethereum just as a mode of security. Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to flip your question around and say, how does the system adapt to these new tools? And I see this as a Trojan horse. I mean, if you give these devices for free to kids, if they're financed by some institution, some foundation to give them the away for free, and then you have a ledger of using Ethereum of these things, and the data becomes valuable. Scientists, they're probably going to find a way to interact with it, and doctors, they're probably going to be very curious, at least. And then that sets a precedent about how medical data can be used, stored in a very different way. So we're here to change the system, right?
Right.
So where do you start? And yes, there is this interface with the system problem that we have, But my question is, can we create something valuable that can set a standard, can set a precedent, and then can unlock that chain reaction?
Basically, you build it and they will come to you.
If there's enough data.
I think it would be in the data itself. Is that like if you start getting enough data and having could you tokenize the data? I don't know. The whole project.
Okay, so let's generalize. You can generalize. This is a situation that has occurred before with other diseases, not just cystic fibrosis, with other games, not just this game. And patients have produced pools of data. So we can move from there.
Yeah. Or we can also maybe build a link with DemocracyOS. I don't know if we can relate to it.
For DemocracyOS? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like the use of data and how we ensure that the data are preserved. So from like health game to democracy, is it the same challenges or?
All right, cool. So yes, basically you were talking about Vimeo and how it works, and so just to get your head around what is DemocracyOS, it's so it's a platform. You can go if you want to. You can have like a live demo. Actually, it's not a demo. It's like a website that we are launching. So os.org. So this is the website, like the global website. So just to let you know, everything is open source, and so you can get a quick view at the GitHub and stuff like that. But all right, so just go at climate. So climate, like type in.
Where?
In the
here?
Yeah, climate. dot app dot DemocracyOS, that app like an app with 2 P's, dot DemocracyOS dot EU.
EU.
Yeah, because so basically how it works right now, it's we have a bunch of DemocracyOS all around the world. So we have one in India, in France, and we are launching it in Quebec and Canada right now. And so for the Paris climate, so COP21,
yes,
which is happening right now,
should I click on it?
So go into step 1, for example.
This one?
No, step 1.
All the way to your right.
All the way to the right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the main platform. So it's so basically how it works. It's you have a text. You can comment on that. You can vote on that, and you can argument, like put your arguments on that, and then people can reply to your arguments and upvote and then vote your arguments.
Okay. It's like a Reddit kind of.
It uses the same up and down as Reddit to put the best argument at the top, but at the same time, it's a way, for example, to construct new laws. I don't know if you heard about the Barcelona township right now. It's okay. So the municipality of Barcelona changed 1 year ago, and the people who took it was all the guys from Against Wall Street and stuff, and so they formed as a party, and to actually be able to make the laws and to make the program of for the municipality that they were running for, they used DemocracyOS. So it was just a way to have decentralized way to build a law. So you can use it to do that, but you can also just have propose a new change into your community, and people can vote and can give arguments for and against that. So this is how it works. So it's all open source. It's all written in JavaScript. It's really it's web responsive and stuff. So it's really light. It doesn't need an app or to download anything on your desktop. So it's really light for your all type of browsers. Also, why I'm here right now is because we are developing. So this is the stage 1. It has been funded in Argentina in 2011, 2012 actually. It has been going all over the world right now. But we want to go into stage 2, which is implementing that for voting and not just okay, I agree with that decision or not. It's the real vote that we can use after that to vote for the laws that will be implemented in your country, for example. But the main reason why we're not able to do that for the moment is based on the security. So we are not sure that if you are already voting, just another guy just took your identity or just going to manipulate all the results at the end. So to be able to do that, we have been looking for three different solutions, and the best solution that we have right now is to use blockchain technology. So and to go after the thing that you were saying for Yumi, for example, that you are not on the same stage of you don't want to give the same level of responsibility into the voting procedure.
Yes.
One thing that we are also implementing right now is called proxy voting. So proxy voting, how it works is that you have the same votes, everyone has the same vote at the beginning, but you can give your vote to someone that you trust. Yeah. And so that means that if a guy has more responsibility into a project, I can just give him my vote because okay, I think you're more into the position to make good decisions than me. So just this is my vote, and go ahead with that. And you can re-implement your vote every time there's a new vote to do, and you can just give it to another guy if you trust him more. Yeah.
I think one of our problems is also who's a citizen. Who has the right to vote for that type of decision making?
Okay.
And since a peer-to-peer production system is a long-tail distribution of contributions, the question becomes, where do you draw the line?
Well, that's
that guy that contributed just once. So now transporting that into communities and countries.
That's why you need the currency. You need the token.
You probably have the same problem. Like, who's part of this community and should decide?
If you don't have a token, you can't vote.
There might be people that are just
right.
yeah, but who has it? So that's
What's it? You get a token, you're allowed to vote.
Yeah.
But
You get 2 tokens, your vote's worth
I
more.
understand. So you have the token, you vote.
Yeah.
But my question is, how do you decide who to give the token to?
Oh, basically it's based on for you it's based on the project, I guess, and for us it's based on the community who is using the platform. So, for example, we have been implementing. So I'm part of the French team that started early 2015, and now I'm in Canada for 4 months, and I'm launching the Quebec Canada team, and then I'm going to Mexico in January, and then we do exactly something. So I'm launching the Mexico team. This is the deal. But yeah. Okay. Sorry. So the thing here is that in France we implemented it in a town called Nanterre, which is 90,000 people. And for these 90,000 people, they all have a unique ID, and they can just go into their own app and vote on the decisions in the city. So, for example, do we put a light there, or do we put I don't know, like a round turn here, or can we make renovations on that street? People can actually vote on that.
So the decision is if you have a house in that community.
Yep, it's based on your address.
Right to vote.
It's based on your address.
Based on your address. So that's one way to do it.
It's based actually it's based on specifically here. It's based on the.
I need to. I think it's too much detail for the time we have here.
All right.
We don't need to know the details. Okay, there's a system. Thank you.
All right. So.
Is there a reputation element to it?
No, but I mean, let's get back to Ethereum.
Yeah, but in the end, it's kind of related, though. Like reputation is very much related.
It's
the approach in Augur. Augur is the same problem, and the approach that Augur takes is with reputation, right?
Yep.
So if you vote for the outcome that happens, you get rewarded. If you vote for the outcome and everyone else votes against you, then you get punished. So that's another. Or
if you don't vote at all, you forfeit the money you could have gotten, or the coins.
Yeah.
But I want to suggest that all the questions we're asking have been asked for thousands of years. So this is not the first discussion. Okay, you understand who gets a vote under what conditions, and if the votes are variable. Yeah. And because there have been variable voting schemes in the world. There are today.
Well, at least it shows what's driving this group, right, to get involved in this project.
I think the problem is different now because the global community, what blockchain and Ethereum allows us to do is to have these open communities that are not necessarily localized. So all of a sudden, democracy becomes a new thing, right?
Yeah, like there's emerging swarm,
post-capitalism, who can vote.
Hybrid system of, collectivism and stuff. There's, I don't know.
And how do we implement that?
Exactly, and I don't think it's, I think the voting thing, that has been talked about a lot of years, but we also didn't have blockchain.
You didn't have a technology to implement.
Yeah,
no,
just come up with solutions, but we can never pull them off.
The details today are not important today because we can discuss them any other day of the week.
Okay.
And this could go on ad infinitum.
Can I ask an Ethereum or semi-Ethereum related question? You had mentioned that you were looking at 3 different solutions, 3 different possibilities, and Ethereum's blockchain specific seemed like the best option. What are you concerned about with blockchain? How does blockchain?
Oh, nothing actually. We are right now implementing it, but it's not done for the moment. But yeah, we have like a bunch of developers in San Francisco and in Argentina working on that, and I'm trying to get my hands into that just to be able to get to that. So yeah, the use of the Ethereum more specifically is because we want to have a way to assure that each contract is valid and that it's peer reviewed by everyone. So that if you vote, we have a system of automatic validation for votes, and then afterwards it's put onto the blockchain, and the time that you vote, it validates, and all the blocks validate that you are good with that. So yeah, this is the main use that we
It's interesting. I know you guys been to the Ethereum.org website. So there's several tutorials, and the last tutorial is exactly decentralized
voting
organization.
Yeah.
So like you do voting, and then you can transfer funds.
Yeah, we just have to implement it into the two platform like just. This is the this is the thing that we're working on.
Yeah. Maybe so we have different use cases that we discussed. Maybe we could just readjust and see what we want to do now.
I have a use case. It's a very small subset of everything we've been talking about. To hold to create an association or group or an entity or an organization, sometimes you need to have meetings, and to create the meeting, you need to have an organizer or an initiator, and then you need a timekeeper and a recorder and things like that, just to know what happened. So these are recurring needs that have been happening for more than just centuries. They've been happening for thousands of years. So I'm looking to make a batch of rules. I've been working with a few people on this. It's a very boring project. Who is in the room when they arrive, when they leave, what they suggested, what role they played, what questions they asked. You know, it's secretary recording, timekeeping, but also tracking. Because later, in some groups, they remove your right to vote if you have been absent from the important meetings. Then if you arrive at the fourth meeting, you cannot vote because you were absent for 3 meetings in a row. You have to sit through the fourth meeting, and then you can vote at the fifth meeting. Just to prove you're going to become an active member again. Because so that way they cannot have a takeover by all the absent members. I mean, you have to be continuously participating, constancy. It's like also being an airline pilot. You must fly the airplane in real life, or you must take a simulator course. You cannot just keep saying, I'm a pilot for these 25 airplanes. Because if you never fly them and you never take a simulator course, you're no longer active or current. So you keep your currency. So just to know who's in the room and who has the currency rights or the active rights, this is a really difficult thing, and it's so boring. So I think it's perfect for software. It's perfect for Ethereum.
I think that's actually really interesting because that would tie into reputation systems. Could even tie that into a greater tokenization system if we were to get into that. But you know, you can kind of value people's worth onto a project. It doesn't necessarily mean just being at the meeting, but what is brought to the table. If these things can be quantified, I see where you're going. I think that's a really interesting project because that can tie in. That ties into a greater in terms of tokenization of intrinsic value of self, if that into a company or something. I think that's actually pretty interesting.
So it's a core component of what you need for your own evaluation system, I think, because if someone has been absent, their ability to judge what's been happening has been deprecated. If they've been absent for 3 consecutive seances or sessions. I'm just using 3 as a number.
That's another use case. So do you see like common, or how we could implement that with Ethereum, or how we could build together something or work on something together?
Well, it's easy to make a working prototype that works badly. And this can be done because there already are some clubs and groups that have a set of rules that we can just copy verbatim and implement them, and then they will complain it doesn't work right, and you can keep on refining it. Then you have a prototype that works for them, but it doesn't work for the general case.
It's smart that you say that because a lot of people don't think of that. You know, that you need history and experiments produce a platform, right?
Yeah.
You can't just throw it out there and see where it goes, right? And then adjust it and this and that, whatever. You know, so like.
You need people that need things, right?
What's that?
You need a user community.
Well, you need to do the damn thing and figure out the rules, right? It's something that nobody's done before.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can't build a road. You can just see what's on the other side, and you have to figure out how to get there, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I think, or it's just an idea, but we could do a roundtable. Just say where we are now, because we have heard a lot.
Well, does anybody want to get more on the technical side a little bit? See, is anybody? I have a few questions. I don't know if anybody's used the tools here or.
Well, I mean, I'm looking to develop in Ethereum in January.
Okay.
Like maybe end of December, January.
Okay.
But right now I'm just booked with contracts.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I really want to do something intense.
Sorry?
I was really want to be intense in Ethereum.
Okay.
So maybe we could do it as a roundtable. just say where we are and what we need or what we want to do?
Okay. Can we also discuss the goal? And I'm going to suggest we plan for a mini hackathon first week of January. I mean, we can prepare it in advance. Talk about projects or talk about rules.
And what we need to bring, like what we have installed on your computer.
Yeah, we could do it in January as an example. But I mean, we'll see whether anybody agrees. You haven't spoken much yet. You have to.
I'm taking it all and you have to speak about this.
Okay. So that's my proposal. If anyone will second the proposal.
I think if anybody who's really more into the nitty gritty right now and you want to meet a little more often or less, more in a shorter time frame than that.
Yeah, because I'm more in the nitty gritty. I'd like to more.
I think we could do like real quick,
Maybe we can
let's get the
create.
computers out. Let's get down. Let's follow some tutorials. It's this, whatever.
Maybe we can create like a dummy coin, just create a
Well, you
as
could
a template.
You could follow. You could follow tutorials online.
Yeah, but if we had an actual coin to produce.
Yeah,
it would kind of.
They're not very.
Like a mini project.
I've done most of them, and they're not like really that well written, right? Like the ones on the. There's just some pieces missing.
Frontier more?
Like a pay it
Yeah, on the frontier.
It's like something stupid.
Because they assume you're using the right tools.
Yeah.
That can be a bit.
Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. I was mining to. I forgot to set my Coinbase. So I was mining to this 0 address, and I'm like, I have 4,000 something Ether in 2 days. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? And I think everybody's been accidentally mining to that address, which is if you don't set your Coinbase, you don't set your. I assume that when you create your account and you create an address, that's where you're mining to, but it's not. That was one of the mistakes I made. Then was a problem exporting my wallet. And trying to get it, the first thing I used was Aleth 0, and I tried mining with it, which completely just crashed the computer. And I was using Fminer, okay, and now I can't. I don't know how to transfer my wallet. I tried transferring my wallet and I can't do it.
Yeah, compatible.
So is it the whole file structure that I need to copy? The whole data structure?
Just the JSON.
What's that?
The key store.
It's the whole key store directory that I copy. Okay, perfect.
So we'll come back to the ultra detailed questions as soon as, because if everyone takes 30 seconds, it's a long time for 15 people.
Yeah. So do you agree to do a roundtable? Sure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So would like to start? Just say a few words on what you're looking for.
Well, this is my second time I'm in a Sensorica meeting. First time I came was I was very skeptical. It was I find very disorganized. I think there's been a huge amount of organization in this one. I'd like to kind of keep the concept and everything. And I've been able to see a few concepts where I think there's really like synergy. And so I think I see the project becoming more real or more practical applications. And I think I want to involve myself.
Secondly, I'd like to use Ethereum to tokenize protesting. Yeah, we might have heard me talk about it downstairs. I won't get into details, which we have a short time. But basically, I'd like to do is make protesting profitable. And I have a scheme for that.
I'm gonna. I need to do more technical stuff. I'm gonna do the tutorials on the Ethereum website. If there's a meetup, I have to find the next before January. That'll be great for me. And once I have a better idea about the technical, like my ability to the technical aspects, I think I'll have a better idea about how it can be implemented. It's still a little bit vague for me.
What was the original place?
Well, I'm coming here because I really like IPFS for distributing open data, and I would like to think about possibilities of incentivizing scientists to put their data on something like IPFS.
On my side, yeah, I'm going to go deeper into Ethereum by myself and with your help if you want to. And we're still looking for developers, so if you know someone who is interested in that and wants to get more into the technical side of it, we're always would be always happy to have him on the team.
Actually, just kind of a fanboy at this point. Truth is, I've just been reading a lot about this stuff, finding it all very interesting, and actually, I'm kind of looking for a place to put some of my own effort, although I'm not a developer, so limited help.
Well, what do you do? Marketing?
I product management and UI design, UX. That's
Right now, I'm just a miner, really interested in Ethereum. I don't exactly know what I'm going to be involved with yet, but my mind is more towards tokenization in something in terms of making maybe a micro economy on something, like, I don't know. But still thinking about it. So.
Yeah, you guys really stirred the value accounting concept in my mind. Like, I had come across this before with the Let's Talk Bitcoin forums online. They created a token, and they basically started refining the monetization value effort from people on their forums. And over time, their little virtual coin that they invented just starts having value because people are willing to trade them. And it, I guess, has the value of the overall network's effort. You know, and that's exactly. I want to get on board with that because you guys are clearly like just running down that lane, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to learn more about that and join you guys.
Cool.
It's cool.
Awesome.
I like creating big pools of data and then de-identifying the data so that it can be used scientifically. So I'm in touch with people who are already doing that. They're medical doctors, administrators, and they grab patients' data and they pool it and they de-identify it. We'll talk more.
Well, relating to, I'm more on Josh's spectrum where I have particular interest, but I don't have an end goal. But and the one thing I've noticed over the past hour long discussing, there seems to be, or at least for me, there's a bit of confusion as to what it like an IPFS distributed file system versus Ethereum, which is like processing power, and like how would, for example, your data that you collect with the breathing apparatus, how does that, would you use Ethereum to, I don't understand where Ethereum ties in, where I see where IPFS would tie in because you're collecting data and you make it accessible to people, but I don't see where Ethereum can be used for it particularly, other than just like, what's the difference between doing that or running it on a server?
So the difference
Where's the
with
incentive?
Ethereum.
You can answer that later.
Okay.
That's a question also.
I'll try to start. What's in?
Store on the IPFS.
Store
locally.
In 2 minutes.
So yeah, where I'm at right now, Sensorica full time, really pushing the infrastructure, and that involves Ethereum, as we see in the future. And yeah, I can't wait to get down and dirty more because I like complicated technical things. So.
Yeah, so I really love this kind of stuff, and I can help with development or the tools or development tools. Mining, not so much, not really my thing, but development, yeah, I can help with that. That's my main interest, really.
My thing is to, we've been doing pure production and faking that we have an infrastructure that is matching that kind of practice. We gained a lot of experience about how do people, in the socioeconomic sphere, how do they adapt, how do they react, how do they play that new game, right? So methodologies, governance, legal structures. We got a lot of insight into that, doing it for the past 5 years. So I'm interested in informing Ethereum developers about these other layers on top, right? So because we're not gonna become Ether tomorrow as human beings, right? We're still gonna live within our reality and human nature. So if we build applications, we might as well build applications that humans can live with and use to make stuff better.
Daniel? Oh, no particular use case for me. I'm just a maker. Should we take a moment for the people online to say where they are?
Yeah. Anybody online wants to express where you are?
Where we are in terms of just in this discussion, in terms of Ethereum, or in general?
Yeah, where I'd say what you take from this discussion and what's the next step for you, or what you are looking for.
Well, what I'm looking for is to create user experiences that take complex information and infrastructure and simplify it and make it not only easy to use but enjoyable to use. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. In terms of the more technical aspects, so accounting is not something that I'm good at all. But I see this with regards to the NRP that we have. I see it, like Daniel mentioned earlier, a cross between a social networking tool, a workflow app, and an accounting system. And these are all very complex, but I would like to find a way to kind of use existing infrastructure to help create a system that's robust, that's fast, and that functions well and is easy to use. So that's what I've sort of taken away from that, and definitely interested in I've been working on just some basic sketches that I am going to share soon, but on ideas for the interface. So I am interested in involving more people in there and figuring out how we can solve some of these challenges together. That's where I'm at.
Very nice. Thank you. Anybody else online?
Yeah. I'm fairly interested in any way we can automate specific tasks in the workplace, either some basic administration task, some accounting task, and ways to automate that. I'm in link with various firms, either in accounting or in legal firm too, that are interested in ways to have part of the smart contract integrated to help in their workplace. So that's one of the main focus I'm in right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tammy?
She's
working.
No, Tammy? No? Okay. No? Okay. So, for me, I'm really new to Ethereum, so I'm just interested in learning a bit more about it. So I'm answering such questions because I don't know about the difference between the two. And just being able to create it with other initiatives. I don't know, should we just start meeting?
Yeah, there are some questions still here, but you can just...
We can keep going with the setup, the technical. Is that good?
Okay.
Streaming, are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we accomplished the organic necessities of the through the tab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can adjourn it, and then people just want to continue the discussion and just stay, I guess.
Okay.
What?
You're swarming again.
When you mentioned it's free form, describe that. That's exactly it. Understanding what Ethereum is. You know what? You might understand that. And that's